Welcome back to another episode of Classic Model Trains. This week we're going to be focusing on these little Plymouth CR-4 switchers made by Tyco Mantua back in the 60s. Turns out there's a lot of history behind these things right here. They are good little runners with good little motors in them. They are unbelievably collectible. There's like 18 different versions throughout their entire production history. This one here's my favorite because it's got the red, white, and blue going on with it, the GE scheme. I'm Ron. It's Classic Model Trains. Let's get into it. Well, here's what this feller looks like, and it is filthy, filthy. And then just while I was working on shooting the intro, is when I noticed that it was missing this piece right over here. Dang it. Took a header. Now, I probably paid way too much for this when I got it, and it said that it needed some work, but it's missing a piece, this piece right there. This piece holds the side frames in, and we got one screw that holds the whole thing on, and it won't work without these side frames because you see that there's these wipers sitting right in here, and these are going to sit down on top of the wheels and pick up the juice over on this side. Well, I'm not worried about what I'm missing because I do happen to have a couple more. I got a total of 3 of these things. And I think that the later production ones had the blackened bottom. The earlier ones have this silver on here. But I think all the parts on the inside are going to be the same. Let's see if we can get in and rob something out of this one that we need. See how the couplers are always broken off on them? Every one of them. So what is going on here? This little fella coming out. I got a lot of stuff up here. Maybe I'm missing more off this GE version than I thought. That one's got a light in it? What? Oh, yeah, missing a light. These sit in there. This one's sitting in there. It's got a screw on it. These pieces are sitting up in the front. Well, my. These are sitting in like that. And it seems like they would just lift right out. I bet they're not. Here, I thought these would be easy. I guess it's just the way that they're made that makes them tough. Got to get under and work it. They're like perfectly engineered, and if you get them just cockeyed a little bit, they're not coming out anymore. Ooh, that's a good coupler. We're gonna save that one. Light is up inside there, and it's got the absolute tiniest screw holding the light bulb holder into the shell. Or this GE one that I bought. I mean, this is the first time I've been into one of these things, and come to find out, this one is missing a lot. But it's red, white, and blue. Now that we got parts here for it, let's take this to the sink and see if we can get that white whiter and the red better and everything looking more. Let's see if she'll clean up. I'm gonna use some old bar soap and a toothbrush, but I'm hoping that the GE label doesn't scrub off. Could just be a real light decal, or the techniques that they used back then wasn't that good. Seems like that's where all the grubby fingers always picked it up at. It's right there on that part because it's just a nasty. Oh, ow. I just jammed that shelf in my eye. So after a little washing and a little buffing with the old boot shine and brush here, this is what we get. It came out nice. This one side here, it just about took out the GE logo on it. Dang it. Maybe that bar of soap that I'm using is a little caustic. These are our major components here. Truck side frames. The MU2 motor, and this one's of course a little different than the ones that are in the other units because it's not mounted to a gimbal. It is riveted right into this thing. The gimbal would be sitting in this area right here. We got one, what looks like an obviously burned out headlight because it's black in there. These guys here mount the truck's side frames into the body. Headlight holder, screws to hold the body on. And these guys right here, were falling out and I didn't know what was going on, but they are actually insulators that are going to go on the ends of this. I can barely touch those things. Since this is picking up juice from one side, I wondered what they did. See, these are all mounted in here. There's an insulator right there. Are they all insulated from each other? Really only need one side insulated. There's an insulator right there. So all 4 of them are actually insulated. So when I bought this and the parts that I bought from, there was more missing than I even anticipated. 4 of those things. So when the truck side frames are mounted in here, they are isolated. Wow. See, didn't know that. We're learning stuff left and right here. Now here's 2 couplers that came out of these units. When I was looking at these 2 have the same size pin. This one's got a bigger pin. And if you notice, this hole is larger. This is one of them rare variations that you find. And these holes are smaller. So that makes it a little tougher. I like it when guys, they pull out their Tyco couplers and they update, because then I can make a bunch of these things back to stock, because it's super important which one to use there. We can update these to 60's. Whisker coupler would fit right in there. We just got to kind of shim up the gap. I think it probably fit on here really good, but these are pretty tiny. So that's where I would pull out that small chainsaw fuel line to shim those up some. And I think we're going to probably end up putting 80's on this anyway. But we're keeping all these couplers because they're good. Now what variations these are, no idea. I've got grain of wheat bulbs. These bulbs here, God, they charge a guy a fortune for them. You can't even hardly ever get them. No number on them. So these 2 here are going up to the headlight holder assembly. This connection here's got a lot of scub in it. It would be nice to get the brush holder, the brushes out of there at least. This screw here, they usually just wrap that around there. These look like they can easily come out. We can pop one brush. This will be able to get in there under that armature and clean that up. Can I get this brush out as well? Just because there's one more thing for me to take apart. I can tell this El Nico magnet here has got some juice to it, because it can do this. And I ain't taking it out. I learned my lesson on that. Plus I've got a video I'm working on showing how to correct those little problems right there. We got to just sit down and make it. Well, now I want to take it out. I want to take the brush holder out, is what I'm saying. So we can see what's in it, on it, under it. That's riveted in. This spring here we could certainly lose. If you weren't paying attention, it's just kind of hooked on the edge right there. That is that MU2 tore down as much as I want to. Now the sad part is you can't even oil it. It's all riveted together. I can't get into this, to the worms over here. Jeez, beneath. You can't oil the ends. Why were these so well received? I mean, they work really well, but whew, there could be a lot of old grease in there. We'll never know. Let's do some mineral spirits and some civilian Q-tips here, just to touch things up a little bit. You always got to clean them as much as you can. We want to get it back to whole. Where can I set this at? Right over there next to that model of that ship. See how these wheels over here are white and these over here are brass colored? These are insulated. They are, the rim is insulated from the axles and stuff. This is how you can tell the earlier 60's versions compared to the ones that were remade by Mantua from 77 on. Because the ones from the relaunched Mantua, they're black. You can't see that there's that big of a difference in there. Try to get all this off. Now the pickup wheels on this side are picking up to chassis ground, and they're dirty. And I can see that they're buggered and everything. These wheels here are clean because they've got these pickups right there that are always rubbing on them, keeping all the track filth off. The other wheels don't have that. Super, super simple way that this is doing pickups and stuff. I wonder if a guy can incorporate one of these into the Chattanooga power tender to try to make it. I mean, this is a lot better drive. You need to do some serious fabricating, put one of these in there. These fingers are starting to come around real nice. These other pickup wheels, seems like you can't turn them. They're gonna take some scrub in. Or I might need to get the Dremel out with the and very carefully cleaning them, because I can see the dirt build up right in there real bad. Get all this, kind of like little bit of rust just trying to set in on it down here. It's been in a musty basement for years. Can't even get down in there to look at those. God, you can't. Oh, I can see the gears. Oh, I can see the gears, yeah. Really good under this end right here. They're a white nylon. Seems to be a bushing holding the, you know, now I want to cut that off there just so I can see it. These aren't holding a gimbal on, so I could just simply replace it with a small bolt. Yeah, I do. I want to look in there. Let's take it apart even further. Did I go too deep? Went too hard. Need to get something a little more fuller sized. Come on now. Oh, there, okay, there's that one. Okay, there's the bottom chassis. Here's our wheels. Wonder how I'm going to tell which side I put these on. The insulated ones. We're going to put them on the same side that the rivet is swedged for the magnet. There. That's a good answer. I've always wanted to see inside these things. They're tough to service if you can't get in there and clean them out. And I suppose these rivets are holding on these brass bushings right here, just to be that much more of a pill. Yep. Oh. There's a small strap right here holding the armature in there. And I think I'm going to throw this in the ultrasonic because I warmed it up. Now that we've got it completely taken apart, it just makes it easier just to see everything. These parts right here, let's just them up some. A little bit, not for very long. Baggie, store all the stuff in. The ultrasonic is turned down to only 104 Fahrenheit. I don't think the heat is going to wipe out that magnet. But they always say ignorance is bliss. A little bit of simple green. We're going to do just some time in there. What happened? Why are you standing up? Okay, yep, like that. The CR-4 is a very interesting little locomotive. It was designed by this fella named Christian Root back in the late 50s. Plymouth produced this little four-wheel switcher between 1960 and 65 in what they call very limited numbers. Very limited numbers means there might be 6. There was maybe 6. And I heard one of them went down there to Africa. And then the other 5 got traded around like a cheap donkey or something like that. And they wore just lots and lots of road names. They got a lot of service out of these things. It's got kind of a shark nose front end on it, you know. Both the hoods, they kind of lean in, which gives it a very distinctive look, which was very similar to the styles of the 50s, you know, with the cars with the fins and the big chrome and the space exploration and the race was, and everything was about spaceships. And so it had that look to it. It was really quite neat. And the owner was really proud of it because it's called the CR-4 because he kind of named it after himself, Christian Root. It's kind of like a guy that's so proud of himself, he names his invention after himself. It's a guy after my own heart right there, I tell you what. Now this Plymouth locomotive had what's called a hydraulic drive on it. So it had the engine, then it had a pump on it, and then it was, you know, probably like a hydrostat. If you've ever used a hydrostatic lawnmower, you just meow, meow, forward and back. The more you push it, the better it goes. So it didn't have a driveline, gearboxes, all this and that. Motors attached to the axles, way it went. Now these little locomotives can be customized from 45 to 60 ton capacities. They're available from 3 to 700 horsepower. Jeez. Sounds kind of excessive, but the thing was 22 feet long, stood 10 foot 6 inches tall, and it was 10 feet wide. Holy moly. You wouldn't think so with just that, you just hold the little model in your hand. This little fella rode on 33-inch wheels, and it could obtain a speed of 50 miles an hour. That's kind of getting with it. Respectable numbers, yes. Plymouth also cataloged a CR6, which would be a 6-wheeled, 3-axled switcher locomotive, but none was ever produced. There wasn't any in existence. That's what I'm trying to say. Plymouth Locomotive Works operated from 1910 to 1997. Has nothing to do with Plymouth, Dodge, Chrysler. No, just happens to have the same name. That's it. And all these guys built with specialized little tiny switcher units, little switcher locomotives for specific applications. Today there's a company named Williams Distribution that bought up all the rights to the Plymouth locomotives. They service them, they supply parts for them, they keep them all running. And then there's also some guys that used to work for Williams that kind of shot off, and they started up their own repair facility for keeping these things going at their shop down in Ohio. So it's like they got a very, very small following of dedicated people. Nice. Like little stories like that. They're still out there kind of kicking around, keeping them running. Let's get back into this repair. You can always tell when the ultrasonic did a good job because your liquid turns nasty black. Blah. It's all the scub that we got out of there. Well, after cleaning all the pieces parts, this is it, broken down. So there's a lot of things going on inside this little tiny switcher. All the parts came out a lot better once they got ultrasonicked. This thing really came around, but then of course it dulled everything. So my toothbrush and the 3-in-1 multi-purpose oil, petroleum based, I put a drop or two in here and I just kind of massage it and I get the oil back into the metal. So it gets these things, gives them a sheen, and it'll soak in. This has just been like an hour here. Makes everything just better looking. Keeps it from rusting. Yep. And if it's excessive, then wipe it off after a day or two. Or don't apply so much all at the first time. We're going to use the Label. What do I use here? 108. Synthetic oil, multi-purpose, lightweight. This armature, it has bushings right down in here. I can see them. White nylon, uncracked gears. Can you believe it? Look at that. Nice. So I am going to try to get some oil inside those. Come down by the shaft and give it just a tiniest little peck. Just a little. It's all that it needs. Especially you don't want to over-oil it down here by the commutator because it'll get oil fouled. Cutting this open really helped out the process of cleaning it. Now these little fellers, they go in. It's time for the Super Lube. I wonder who makes this. Should I call these guys? Say, hey, customer info line. Oh, look. Synco Chemical Corporation. Syncolon. I should call them and talk to their marketing department. But my luck is I get like a lifetime supply of Super Lube. And this one here, I've been doing this for 3 years. And it's still completely full. Completely full. Put a little taste on the nylon gears. The worms. Up over in here. Do it on both sides. Yep. Put in our brass bushings for the axles. Oh, I love it. Love the way this thing is made. So good. Little taste in there. In here. Sure. Yep. I'm going to put the insulated wheels on the side right over here, facing that way. So they're going to go in like this. Both on the same side. Quit it now. Everything's got a wear surface. And I want to give these gears just a little taste here also. Spin it halfway around, give them a little taste again. Now this plate here, it looks like it's the exact same no matter which direction you put it. There's little towers right under here that stuck up maybe 1/8 of an inch, 3/16. And the only 1028 bolts I got were exactly too short to do that, so I just cut them off. Because I don't have to put a gimbal on, like if this was mounted in a cab or hood locomotive. So it's working in this particular application right here. Now I did notice that these heads, of course, are sticking farther down than the rivets were. But then these gear covers right here are sticking down quite a bit. So I figured, well, them little heads aren't going to be in the way. And the only time they'd be in the way would be over a frog or something like that on your layout. But if the gear can go through it, then this will be able to go through it as well. Give it a nice snugged, both sides, and there's that whole thing. Can I still turn everything? Yep. So our springs, our brush holders, it was in there like that. When I get this, put them in there. Oh, now. I always like to take these off just to show you guys. Okay, that worked. We clean out the brushes with the mineral spirits. We're gonna bring them in like this. Loop it through the top, get the spring, bring it in. Yes, there's one. Work on getting the other one in. God damn it. Okay, there. So now we've got the armature and the motor and all this stuff put back together. These are the old ones that I pulled out. Very specific rivet, and that head right there is what works with that gimbal Tyco introduced the CR-4 industrial diesel switcher locomotive in their 1960 catalog. They produced it in 8 different road names from 1960 to 1967 when the production ceased on it. In 1960, the thing listed for $6.95. Oh. In 2024, that comes out to $74 and a little bit of change for them. Now, when Mantua reorganized in 1977, they reintroduced the CR-4 in 1978, and it had 15 additional road names made for it, and these were available up until 1990. The Tyco Mantua CR-4 is faithful to the prototype, but there is just a few things that they had to change to it. They had to make the model itself a little bit longer to get the MU2 drive to fit inside of it. The shark nose ends at the end of the hoods, you know, they're not as steeply angled as the original prototype is. And for some odd reason, it looks like on the top of the model, they've got some sort of fan on top of the cab that would like blow air in on the operators, where the prototype never had one of those, ever. So they just like, hey, let's throw in a fan. Okay, sounds good. And somebody carved it out of the mold and made it happen. There are 14 known private and railroad companies that have been made with the original run and then the Mantua second release run in the history. I dug around for 2 days, I swear, on the internet, trying to dig up all the pictures for all these things. So let's take a look at the 14 different names and the variations that are available for them. There's 2 variations each for the Bell telephone, the original one, and then the re-release version. There's 2 variations for US Steel, the original and the re-release. Westinghouse with the original 60s release and the re-release. The RCA with the original and then the re-release. And then the Union Pacific, the original and the re-release. There's 3 different variations for the Republic Steel. The all blue, the blue with the gray roof. And then the 3rd variation, the door has got a decal for the name on it, and then the sill plate has got the striped lines on it. The General Electric is supposed to have 3 variations, and I can only, for the life of me, only find 2 of them. And then the remainders, there's just a single variation of the original Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe. This is the 60s release, and they never made a remake of it. Timken Bearings, Boise Cascade Lumber Company, Ford Motor Company, PPG Industries Paint. Now, they might do more than paint, I'm not sure. DuPont, wow, they do all kinds of stuff out there. And I want to say Hooker for Hooker headers, but it could be, Hooker might make more than just headers. I'm just an automotive guy, so that's what I think of when I hear Hookers, Hooker headers. That's all I think of too. So except for the Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe, Mantua reproduced all the original 8 road names that they made in the 60s, plus added more to them during the re-release. So for a total, for the collectors out there that want to go insane with these things, there's a total of 22 different road names with variations that's available to collect out there. Now, about 4 or 5 years ago, I started collecting Tyco. It's out, I said it. I'm a Tyco collector. And it's hard to try to collect all, I mean, it's easy to get the set pieces. You got millions of those, but there's a lot of vague ones. And there's a lot of people that do collect Tyco stuff. They want all the variations. When I started looking at these switcher locomotives about 3 years ago, a lot of them were bringing in 50, 60 bucks. Some were 80, some were 90. It's like, oh, geez, some more than that. And then just tonight when I was looking them up, they weren't fetching the kind of money that I remember seeing 3 years ago. But then I also see that a lot of stuff is a lot cheaper with the sold items now, probably because our economy is kind of in the tank and nobody's got this kind of money to spend on every variation. I did find some out there though that were still kind of pushing some nice numbers out there, 40s, 50s, $60. And seems like for some reason these Ford ones remade by Mantua, they are fetching some nice, decent money. My goodness. So for the guys that want to collect the Mantua switchers, these ones here, yeah, don't confuse these ones with the ones that were released in 1970 and up that had the power torque in them. Those were completely redesigned, and there's many variations of those also. The only ones that we're focusing on are these ones, the CR-4s. Now would be an excellent time to throw in this week's Classic Model Trains Classic Model of the Week. Do you guys know who this is over here? If you do, put in the comments down below. If you don't, wait until the end. I'll let you know who it is. Let's get back into finishing up this repair. If I played my cards right, we should have something that runs here. We need one on chassis ground, and we need one over here. Sure. Let it chew on that for a little bit. Get itself broke in. Let the lube around. Other direction? Sure. Low speed creep? It's a 5-pole motor in there. I've got a bunch of these grain of wheat bulbs, and they're dirt cheap, cheaper than LED. I mean, I got like 100 of them. And I like the color of an incandescent more than I like the color of an LED. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate this bulb holder because this bulb is burned out and these are hard to get a hold of. And I'm going to put just a touch of hot glue down in this neck of the woods. And I'm going to put this so it's really close to the backside of the lens so we get good light transfer. And then this wire goes to the truck side. I'll take this off, and then I can solder these two leads, cut them down, solder one here, solder one over here, and that'll give us the power to power this up. Leave the wires long enough where you can remove the shell and not have a bunch of issues with it. That is what we're gonna do for this. It'll be a hassle, but I'm up for the challenge. Oh, I can't even get the gun in there. Okay, hurry, yes, hurry. Okay, yes. Maybe? No. Dang it. Sort of. Yes. Oh, waiting for the glue to set up. Is that enough to hold it there? Can I drop in more from the sky to concrete it? Yeah, I think I'll do that. If some is good, more is better. Isn't that what they say? Let that set up real good and we're gonna have a nice light up there. Pull this extra wire off. Of course, these will be soldered together, so it's gonna be a hassle. Ew. We want the shorter of the two. Is this just like one wire? I bet you it is. Yeah, it is. Give it a bigger blob of solder up here to work with. And this blob is gonna go to the truck like this. And to improve the juice flow, I wanna make sure that this is clean. Then work on getting that little feller in. These guys here, I guess we'll cut them right about there. Not that I own is small enough to strip these, so we gotta do it the old-fashioned way and cut off the insulation. Like so. Clean, keep the soldering tip clean. Tin these little things. We're gonna put one here and then one down here. So now we got our headlight. All of our electricals wired up in there. I want to put the Katie's in. 148 standards. And I got this little tiny fuel line and I don't know what size it is. I got it. I just went to the hardware store and I said, give me a foot of everything that you've got. But you see how it fits inside of this nicely, and it also fits over the post that's in these really well. So I need to get and cut this the thickness of the Katie, just a little donut like that. And I want 2 of them because these are odd enough where when you put them in, what I'm hoping to do is put these on the post here. That worked out well. These are going to drop in here, but we also got to have the coupler in place and get it all lined up all at once. So we come up with something like this. Do it again, coupler in place. That worked out better than I thought it would, to be honest with you. This is gonna go in like this. So we can put this guy, these springs right here, they're gonna go up. So it's gonna go in like this. But we gotta put these little insulators on them right here. Tiny little thin pieces of cardboard. Yeah, whose idea was this? that this isn't gonna be as easy as I hoped. It looked a lot easier on paper. Stick it in, use a screwdriver to hold it, push it down. I guess I got like one side in. God, can you glue it on or something like that? Can I leave like the door open on the top? Frustrating at many levels. So those two are in, and I'm gonna fold the top part back up and try to slide this in. This is the plan. It's the best I can come up with. It's the only thing I can think of. It may or may not work. We're gonna go to horseshoe mode and see if, make sure they're not conductive. Well, they're not even conductive among themselves. You got to get through that dang layer of stuff. So we're going to hope that's not going to turn into a short. Try the same on the other side. I just stuck them in. I left the doors open on the top. You can see how it's got this shape to it here. And then I just slid the side frame in. Once we get those plates in, white wheels, go to the spring plates, push it in like this, screw the screws in. And with anything that if there's any luck at all, it's going to work. I didn't tear out any wire on it or something like that at the last minute, which is something that I'm very capable of doing. I'm gonna put 2 screws in because if I gotta take it back off, I don't want to take out 4. Them couplers are working nice. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. Let's put it on the track and see what she does. Oh, that's exactly what I'd hoped for. A little louder than I thought it would be. Goodness. It's another one of those where you get it going really good and then it quiets up a little bit. Not that anybody goes this fast. That's like slot car speed. What's it got for a creep? That's not bad. Kind of put it into perspective here. 2.5 volts. Oh, it's stalled out right about there. You know what it needs though? It needs some hand railings. It needs a little touch of paint on it. Hand railings should be easy enough to build. Let's see if we can knock those out. This blue, I didn't have any. Somebody spray painted this side up some and didn't come off in the wash. But I just want to touch up the little things. Here. So I went to the Walmart and I grabbed up every shade of blue they had so I could see which one is maybe gonna match this a little bit. 2 blue, navy, matte, satin. What does that mean? Matte, satin, oh man. Bright blue, primary blue, 2 blue, matte. Okay, I guess I'll get a piece of paper and I'll paint just a little bit on each one so we can find the blue we need. It's gonna be these 2. I'm just sure of it. Turns out to be 2 blue. Matte, 2077 1E. So matte, I suppose it'll dry flat and then look funny, but it sure looks like it's spot on to me when it's wet. I'm not trying to make an exact, 2-foot perfect reproduction here. I just, a little bit, try to make this some better. It really got hit up, which of course it would because it's a toy. I measured this existing hand railing and it looks like it's coming out to somewhere where 0.63 millimeter, 656, these cheapy things. But I got something that seems to be coming around to be the same length. The downside is that the holes, some are closed up. This side, it doesn't look bad, but over here, you can't even see them. And I bought these things right here, thinking that this would be any drill bit size I'd ever need in my whole life. No, it doesn't go down small enough. Now I just thought when you get one of these from the hardware store, these are oxyacetylene tip cleaners, is really what they are. And they've got bits in them that are even smaller. Thank goodness. All I gotta do is root around in there, try to find a bit that's about the same size as this, and then I can clean these holes up, drill them out bigger so I can get the railings put in. And hopefully I've got little stanchions that are this size right there. Those are just little fellers. And I only need 4 of them. Keep on keeping on. Yep, found one. And holy moly, getting her done. Hardest part is getting the thing started. Yes, we are making progress. Got holes down along here. I got a drill. Then this one here, since it's missing, I'm just gonna drill a hole really deep, have the railing come down farther since I'm just making my own, and it'll just kind of hide the fact that that chunk is missing right there. Well, here we are, halfway done. Took about a half an hour. I like to use this a lot, and you use it to measure where your bends need to be. And then you just get the old straight piece and you get a pair of needle nose and you just start giving her 90-degree bends here and there to get these on. The front one, this is the first one, and it was tough. The one back here will be easier. And I might even just redo this one just because. Then I'm gluing them in the holes. Once it's all said and done, just take a little bit of this and you put it around the end of the wire. Give it just a little bit of CA after you're all done bending it and making sure you got what you want. And then that way they won't fall out on you. Simple little set to chew on, to learn on. Short hood done, now we gotta do the long hood. It's gonna make it look a lot better though, for sure. And just a short hour later, we've got railings on the whole dang thing. These stanchions up front here, 3/8 A-line is what we did to make them. I think we are ready to put it on the layout. Give it something to tug on. Snowed on us the first time up here today. Dog's cold. She's in, she's out, she's in. Weird. Dogs are weird. I want to give a shout out to Lawrence Gibb and Tony Cook and the guys and gals that make this publication right here, because this is where I got the majority of my information from on this little CR-4. I mean, it's got like a 9-page write-up on it in these things. A lot of great information come out of here. Seems like Tony Cook and Lawrence Gibb and some of the other writers they have down there are like the only guys that research to this extent these old classic trains. Yeah, I really like them. I wish this publication was still in print all the time. I don't know what's doing. I think it's online, or maybe it died. I don't know. Dang it when that happens. Classic model trains, classic model of the week, Valerie Bertinelli. Yeah, she was such a cutie. Had that girl next door kind of look going on with her back in the 70s and 80s. And we watched her on One Day at a Time. Yeah, we're on hour 28 of producing this video, so it's time to get out of here. Took a while to get them hand railings on there. I think I made one for a full-size locomotive that took less time than this one. Jeez, holy moly. But let's see if I can get this CR-4, this GE, if it'll play me off. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.